What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside Game Day After Dark. When you lock up first place, not just in the West Division, but the entire CFL with a month remaining in the regular season, sometimes this is the type of football you get. Your final score tonight, BC 40, Winnipeg 32, as the Lions move into second place in the West with a couple games to go. And here's your special guest joining myself on Game Day After Dark, Josh Frey-Sam, sports reporter for the Winnipeg Free Press. New addition to the team. You're like the young Brad Lambert, but you're getting action right away. Maybe a more of a Cole Perfetti, maybe even a Dalton Schoen, if I may. Josh, how are you? Introduce yourself to everybody out there watching.
Hey man, I love all those comps that you just gave me. Any one of them, I'll take for sure, man. Darrin, I'm doing great, man. Yeah, I obviously started the Free Press just a few short months ago, but just been thrown right into the deep end, which is great. Wouldn't have it any other way. Have been having a great time covering the Bombers, seeing you bi-weekly or so, and yeah, man, just very happy to be on the show here tonight, and just be happy to be a part of your growth here and Bonfire Sports.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have fun tonight. Somebody else might pop in a little bit later too, so we'll get a little three-way
We're doing
conversation going here, and we'll make it four-way with everybody joining us in the live chat tonight. Great to see everybody there. All the usual suspects staying up late on Game Day After Dark here. Tico Napoli, Andrea, Andre, Larry, everybody. Great to see you in the live chat tonight. Well, similar to you being thrown right into the fire, Dru Brown thrown right into the fire for the Blue Bombers tonight as Zach Collaros took the week off. He was dressed in uniform, had the helmet on, I'm sure, listening in on the headset and the play calling between Buck Pierce and Dru Brown through the game. Josh, what did you see from young Dru Brown tonight? 2 pick sixes, of course, will be the most glaring on the stat sheet, but overall, he did some good things as well.
He did some great things. I think that if you were looking at this game at the end of the first half and you saw, I think he had sub 60 yards passing or something like that, and you're looking at the box score, you're like, oh, I don't know, Dru Brown, and he had a pick six on top of that. You're kind of looking, ugly start. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't disagree more. I actually thought Dru Brown, aside from maybe the 2 pick sixes are obviously very glaring, but aside from that, I mean, he actually had a pretty solid game from start to finish. There's a couple of things that I highlighted, Darrin, that I think is really important to know. And when you're kind of evaluating a quarterback now, obviously this is very fresh, game just ended, but you're looking for things like poise, right? And I thought Dru Brown showed a lot of that, right? Yeah. You look for quiet feet in the pocket, right? This isn't the guy where you see young quarterbacks that get in under center or in shotgun and they catch the ball and they have these happy feet. They start dancing. They're looking to escape the pocket right away, right? Dru Brown didn't show that, right? He responded after that pick six as well, which showed a lot of poise, got the offense moving a little bit. His decision-making was really good. I also saw a lot of good ball protection from him aside. Again, obviously the 2 pick sixes are glaring, but whenever there was pressure around him, it seemed as though he had 2 hands on the ball. He was tucking the ball away. Another big thing that you want to see from a lot of these quarterbacks is urgency, right? That they have that 3-second ticker kind of going off in their heads, like drop back, maybe 1 hitch, 2 hitch. Okay, the pressure's going to cave in on me any moment now. Let's get out of here. Dru Brown showed a lot of good stuff from in that respect, right? A lot of urgency and then a lot of feel as well. That's the last thing that I'll say on that as well. It's just he showed a lot of feel for the pressure in the pocket as well, and we saw his mobility a lot tonight and how that came to play. There was a key play, which I'm sure we'll get to a little bit later, but in the third quarter where he had this on the roll run and hit Rashid Bailey on the sideline with a dot. And I'll be honest, like that was the one that kind of got him going. And I thought Dru Brown overall, man, that was a very solid performance. But those mistakes, like the pick six, those critical ones, those are ones that, yeah, they're disappointing to see, but you kind of live with those with a young quarterback to a certain extent. You hope that he cleans those up when he becomes a full-time starter, wherever that is.
Josh Frey-Sam, I completely agree with your assessment there at Dru Brown. What I liked the most about Dru Brown's game tonight, you mentioned the composure and the calmness and the mettle that he had on display. What I really like is this number: 39 pass attempts. Let the
Absolutely.
young man go. Let him work through things. And yeah, like a 45-yard pick six for former Winnipeg Blue Bomber Marcus Sayles is a tough pill to swallow. That was a low snap from Michael Couture at center that Brown kind of, picked up, and he's like, I think I can make this throw. Maybe a bit of a bad decision there, but I'm not hanging that all on him. That was a missed transition with the football. The other one was a bad throw.
Yeah.
The 107, 106 yard pick six by one of the best DBs in the CFL for a long, long time now. TJ Lee could be their most outstanding defensive player in BC this season. And that's saying something on a very talented defense. Dru Brown just threw the ball behind Nick Dembski. So, that accuracy isn't there. We have to remember these are moving targets. It comes down to a lot of timing, comfortability, and gel and chemistry between a quarterback and their receivers, right? So, for a first go for Dru Brown, I thought he did a lot of very, very good things. 3 touchdowns, 325 yards. Yeah, the 2 pick sixes, the 2 interceptions definitely stand out. But a quarterback efficiency rating, Josh, of over 100, 100.9 for Dru Brown in front of an O-line with no Pat Neufeld, no Stanley Bryant, no Jamarcus Hardrick, a Canadian, Jeff Gray, playing tackle. He did quite well. I will say he did quite well with a lot of different pieces coming in. Was it 6 different players? 5 if you don't include the quarterbacks, or don't include Dakota Prukop running the football today. So many different pieces, so many different personnel pieces. I think Dru Brown handled himself, frankly, exemplary tonight. I was really impressed.
I agree. And the other thing is, what I'll say to that is that just maybe the final piece of this whole part of that I was very impressed with was it was the confidence aspect for Dru Brown for me tonight that actually really was the first thing that I noticed. And now, listen, this isn't a guy who this isn't his first game action ever, but this is a guy who you could tell that he has a little bit of experience under, even though it's very, very minimal, very small sample size, but you could tell this is a guy who he has had a little bit of experience, and he looked the part, in my opinion. And what I mean by confidence is he came out here not, you see, again, with a lot of young quarterbacks, they just kind of want to make the safe throw, right? They're not necessarily maybe playing to win. They're playing to not lose. You know what I mean? They don't want to make the critical mistake. And I thought that Dru Brown, he didn't look afraid to make the critical mistake. And you saw it when he threw the first pick six. He came back, he bounced. That's what I mean. I was talking about his poise. He came back right away and he started slinging the ball even more. But what I was also saying to that point was I'm not sure what his total air yardage is, what his average, intended air yardage was tonight per throw. But I want to guess that it was actually it was a big number, because he was taking deep shots. He was not afraid to let the ball go. He was not afraid to sling it. So to your point, with those 39 pass attempts on the night, a lot of those ones, he was not afraid to sling it down the field, on the run, whatever. I thought that Dru Brown, it was all in all, like if I had to grade him right now, I would give it a B+.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you there. Well said. Welcome inside Game Day After Dark for all of you just joining us here. Josh Frey-Sam of the Winnipeg Free Press stepping in, similar to Dru Brown tonight for Zach Collaros. Josh in for Zach Schnitzer, who, it's just late night for a young father of 2 with a house full of pets and a lovely wife to take care of as well. So good to have you, Josh. We might have somebody else popping in a little bit later as well. Lots to talk about Dru Brown. I want everybody's comments out there in the live chat. Text the hotline 816-TIPS 204-816-8477. Hit the Bonfire Sports hotline and give me your thoughts on the game, on Dru Brown. Who else stood out to you tonight? Curious to get your take. Andre Harms, who's watching live on YouTube, says lots of changes in the lineup, but I think the Bombers still did all right considering all of those changes. Dru Brown made a few mistakes, but so has Collaros in the past. That is true. I like Jamal Parker's play tonight. I agree. I thought Jamal Parker was very aggressive, was sharp in his defense. And Josh, we got to remember too, this guy has only played corner in games since needing to come in following the injury to Demario Houston. He now takes Dietrich Nichols' spot, a real lockdown spot, no doubt, in this Blue Bombers secondary all season long, all of last season too with Dietrich Nichols. He has been all world in my opinion. And Parker showed very, very well, tackled well, had the sack, or you can call it a tackle for loss, whatever. And guarded extremely well against BC's receivers.
Yeah, and you like to say I'm seeing a lot of Brandon Alexander pop up here as well. So I mean, Brandon Alexander, you'd love to see him continue to take steps, right? I mean, this guy is essentially, it seems like he's come back almost seamlessly from a torn ACL.
I wonder if he's going to get a call from the league about that slam down hit, that body slam of Dominique Rhymes late in the game that shook Rhymes up. I wonder.
Yeah,
just wanted to say.
I think that's fair. I think that is fair. Yeah, you hate to see those the wrestling ones. Those are the ones where you just kind of shake your head as a fan and you say, but it's just in the moment. You know what I mean? They can't help it. They're trying to get the guy to the ground. You know, I can respect it as a competitor.
No whistle.
No whistle. That's absolutely correct. But no, Brandon Alexander, I see a lot of Brandon Alexander comments here, and I completely agree with them. Jamal Parker was the name actually that came to mind when you asked who really stood out to you. I think Jamal Parker, he was flying around. This is a guy with a lot of speed, and he showed it on that. It was a couple weeks ago when he had his first career interception. And he showed that speed. He's trying to crib that. He was trying to crib that pick six, or that pick. So I thought that he showed that a lot tonight as well by tackling. I think he had a sack on the night, and on that sack, he outran Adam Bighill from the secondary, and he just tracked down Adams there, and he took him down. So I thought Jamal Parker was playing really fast, and that's one of the key things that you really like to see from a young player as well, right? Is just not, again, kind of going back to what I was talking about with Dru Brown, is that urgency. Right. We want to see a guy playing fast. We don't want to actually literally be able to see you thinking while you're out there on the field. Right. We want to see you playing just automatically out there. Right. We want to see you just playing as fast as you possibly can. Yeah, exactly. And just relying exactly on those athletic gifts that you have. So I thought Jamal Parker played really well. But if you don't mind me just adding a third night name to this comment, I'll even say Michael Couture. Sure, I think that he actually is going to, when we're handing out kind of our awards later on in the show here, I think that he might get the nod from me as far as my Warrior, just because Couture is obviously making his first start since week 2 with that broken arm, and so I thought that he played admirably there. And the offensive line as a whole, though, we can maybe talk about that. The offensive line as a whole was a little bit. I thought there was definitely room for improvement, but there was obviously a lot of moving pieces there.
Well, yeah, moving pieces is an understatement, right? Because we saw obviously Pat Neufeld, Stanley Bryant, Jamarcus Hardrick all out. Chris Kolinkowski kicking over to guard, Couture coming in at center, Jeff Gray moving from guard to tackle, Liam Dobson getting his first start as a pro as well, the Blue Bombers' first round pick in 2021 at right guard. And, we saw Chris Kolinkowski getting looked at by Dr. Neil Creighton on the Blue Bombers sideline at one point. I only know that name because I've gone and seen the man myself. He is a phenomenal physician and orthopedic and concussion specialist as well. But he was looking at Chris Kolinkowski's knee. We won't get an update on that until the Blue Bombers return to the practice field. It's not this week. It's next week. They have their third and final bye of the season upcoming here. And then, of course, the BC Lions coming to town in week 21 on Friday, October 28th. Pre-game, post-game, midweek, as always, as usually scheduled here on Bonfire Sports. The offensive line, overall, I thought they played really well, especially early in the game, Josh. They kept Dru Brown clean for the most part. You're not going to stop everything. It never happens, even when Bryant and Hardrick and Neufeld are in the lineup. But yeah, I agree with you. I thought Michael Couture played quite well. That low snap on the first pick six, the Dru Brown pick six to Marcus Sales, I think stands out a little bit. But for a guy, like you mentioned, that broke his arm, it's his non-snapping arm, it's his left arm. He does snap with his right. For a guy to, have that happen to him early in the year, come back, be healthy enough to play, and then be the sixth offensive lineman, because Chris Kolinkowski essentially Wally Pipped him, right? And for those that don't know Wally Pipp, it was, now I'm blanking. It was the New York Yankees outfielder, Lou Gehrig, who took over for Wally Pipp when Pipp got injured, and Pipp was a great player. And, Lou Gehrig went on to play something like 2,000 games, and that was the end of Wally Pipp's time. But I don't think that'll be the case with Chris Kolinkowski and Michael Couture. No. The Blue Bombers need as many healthy bodies as they can and guys that are experienced and ready to go. Josh, I think the conversation all surrounds a greater perspective of what the Blue Bombers want to accomplish in this final month of the season. I talked about it on Bonfire midweek this week with Zach. I talked about it on Game Day Winnipeg with Chris Walby here on Bonfire, that the strategy the Blue Bombers are working to employ wasn't just on display in the depth chart with a lot of the veterans not dressing. It was also on display in the second half when a healthy Adam Bighill came out, when Nick Hallett started playing 2 safety sets with Brandon Alexander and then taking over for Brandon Alexander, moving guys around, Jesse Briggs to middle linebacker, Shane Gauthier to middle linebacker, Retta Cramdy playing the dime, getting Alden Darby some meaningful reps. The Bombers have nothing to win by capturing W's in these final 2 games of the regular season. Of course, a loss tonight in BC and 1 to go back at home against the Lions. But in the end, they have bigger fish to fry is one way to put it. They need to be healthy. They need to be prepared. It comes down to contingency. You need everybody going and everybody able to go, even if they are a reserve or a spot duty player or a role player or a backup, that if they're needed in the West Final, in the Grey Cup, they're good to go.
And that's exactly it. And these weeks of these meaningless games, they can be seen as a blessing. They can be seen as a curse for various reasons. But I think one of the reasons they can be seen as a blessing is just that. I mean, we've heard O'Shea, you and I, being around him this year, we've heard him talk about even on the defensive side of the ball and how much they emphasize the importance of versatility on the defensive side of the ball, getting guys meaningful reps at different positions. That way, if an injury does come up, they can essentially plug and play whoever they need to put there, right? So you see all this moving around happening on the defensive side of the ball, and I mean, this is just it's evident of the time of the year that the Bombers are in right now, right? And I think that is the blessing of this. You see the offensive line shifting around, you're getting meaningful reps there, right? It's almost like preseason all over again, except you're almost getting, it's almost better than preseason because these guys who might be going up typically against the 2s, possibly, you see some of maybe the rookies, the younger guys, you're seeing them go up against the backups or even the 3rd stringers. These guys are getting live reps against the 1s, against BC Lions 1s, and
team
which
that
is
wants
huge.
to win, needs to win.
And those are so invaluable. Those are so invaluable. So I think that this is the blessing of the Bombers being in the position that they are. The curse, obviously, the potential curse, obviously being, well, I mean, we could get into just with Zach sitting and these different important positions sitting and whatnot, and the quote unquote rust building up possibly. But I thought that, guys like Adam Bighill, I mean, those are guys where, Adam Bighill kind of struck me as the kind of guy where, he's probably not going to be told no too many times. At least he's going to go get a quarter or a half a football in. He just wants to go hit something, So I think that there are certain guys, it depends on the position, but overall, this is just evident of the time of year that we're in for the Bombers, but this is a blessing for them. And this is going to bode well for them going forward. This is what allows you to keep this going, this dynasty that you're building. It allows you to have turnover. It allows you to lose a guy. Let's go back to a Kenny Lawler, for example. It allows you to lose a guy like that. And because you've built up these reps with these other younger players, they can step in and they can have meaningful impacts. And they're doing that on the defensive side of the ball. They're doing it at the offensive line right now. This is all good for the Bombers.
No, I completely agree. Great comment from Kyle Kearney, who's watching on YouTube. I have to say I'm surprised. You lose by 8 points, 3 missed field goals, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later as well, which were long, and 2 turnovers in point-scoring positions, both of those pick sixes, of course. All this behind second and third string offense and defense for most of the game. Definitely lots of change in the Blue Bombers linebacking core and defensive secondary. That D-line pretty much intact at it as it has been all year, with obviously no Jackson Jeffcoat, still injured at this point, but Willie Jefferson, Casey Sales, and Jake Thomas both getting sacks. And I was surprised to see Casey Sales up to 5 sacks on the season. Everybody's been talking about Steven Richardson being a huge loss for this Blue Bombers defensive front. The run game against the D-line is something I want to talk about as well. But great to see everybody in the live chat. Just want to draw attention to Comet and Donnie Boy Booch. Good to see you, James and John and Vladimir, of course. That's our good pal Frey-Sam. Never change your picture, Freezer. I like it, and you always change your name to keep us on our toes here. So appreciate that. Dave Johnson is watching live on YouTube as well. Great to see everybody here joining us following this Blue Bombers loss, their third of the season, 40-32 to the BC Lions in Vancouver, bye week now, and returning home October 28th to wrap the regular season. The return game, the run defense, and kicking.
Yeah.
Let's get into Marc Liegghio. He misses 2 50-yard field goal attempts today, Josh, and it looked like Mike O'Shea was just kind of, especially at the end of the first half, just get the kid out there, kick it, just go for it. Is this a damaging thing for a young kicker in Marc Liegghio potentially, where he has shown that if he gets in his own head a little bit, it can throw him off his game? Or is it a positive thing that Mike O'Shea is putting him out there in real game situations, real snap, real hold, real crowd, real opponent trying to stop him and the rest? How do you balance that out for someone like Marc Liegghio in a game that ended up being an 8-point margin difference? That, you know, his 3 field goals could have gave Winnipeg a win.
Game. Yeah, exactly. He could have won of the game. That was the difference, was Marc Liegghio. And I think that's the interesting part of this is you know, you have Marc Liegghio, which in theory maybe has a little bit less pressure on him today because it is such a meaningless game. But at the same time, you still do have to hit those kicks because the kicking position is just so much of rhythm and momentum and all that's entailed with that. So I think that I like the approach from O'Shea, just putting him out there and letting him go kick, because if he hits those, that obviously bodes well. If he misses them, I think that you need to be careful as we kind of approach the playoffs here, because you need that guy kind of being in a rhythm. You need that guy. And I think maybe we will see that potentially. Keep your eye on going forward with the last game of the season here approaching. Maybe keep your eye on a critical moment in the game, possibly in the fourth quarter, or maybe the Bombers in which they would be deep in the BC Lions territory and they opt to go for a field goal instead. Because it's just little things like that I think, anyways, in my opinion, where you're just building little blocks, right? You're stacking blocks a little bit at a time just to build that momentum. Personally, I think that will go a long way. But missing the 50-yard field goals, I mean, those are, I don't think that they're overly detrimental, but at the same time, those are ones where when it comes to the playoff time, if Marc Liegghio hasn't hit a 50-plus yard field or a 40-plus yard field goal in however many weeks, and now it's colder and now the game's really meaning something, it's on the line, it's just like, okay, well, now he doesn't actually have that confidence. He hasn't hit one of those in a meaningful game in quite some time. I think that it could come back to bite them in depending on what the situation they find themselves in the playoffs.
No, that's fair. I'll only add that this is the last game they will play in a dome this year. The West Finals in Winnipeg. The Grey Cup is in Regina. Dead air dome is a real thing. Just go back and look at Justin Medlock's numbers, kicking long field goals at BC Place. Quickly before we bring in our special guest number 2, another surprise for everybody out there here on Game Day After Dark. David Rollins joining us live on YouTube says, first time you're here from Taxco, Mexico. Had to bitch about this awful soft Richie Hall defense and the awful kick coverage. This does not look like a championship team. David Rollins letting it fly.
With your chest.
Yeah. Let's get the opinion of Taylor Allen of the Winnipeg Free Press, your co-worker. TA, what's going on, man? Good to have you here and joining myself and young Josh Frey-Sam on After Dark. How are you?
I am good. Did I hear another Wally Pip reference, Darrin?
Yeah, I brought another one. I'll drink to
it. Well done. Yeah, you know, I can't say staying up way past my bedtime to talk about a meaningless game.
Right.
My ideal Saturday night, but no, I appreciate you guys having me on to talk some football for sure.
Yeah, like what did you see from the Bombers' kick coverage tonight? Terry Williams went off. Of course, Janarian Grant did quite well as well. But kick coverage is it's an area of a football team that if you're weak at, you're susceptible at any time because those opportunities are going to come to an opponent. And like we saw from Terry Williams tonight, setting them up with great field position to score points.
Yeah, I mean, the first play of the game, he takes it to midfield, and that's never an ideal start, obviously. And Mark Leggio, he had a couple tackles tonight, and it's kind of nice here and there when your kicker can make a tackle, but ideally, you don't want your kicker to be helping you out too much in that regard. So yeah, definitely a little sloppy, but I mean, I think come playoff time, I wouldn't be that concerned about it. I mean, let's take a step back and realize what the Bombers had at stake tonight. It was really nothing, obviously. So I think it kind of showed in some areas tonight for sure. But yeah, that was definitely a glaring hole for them tonight. Their kick coverage.
I'm more in the boat of it does matter for sure. That's where I'm. I think that these are meaningful things. I mean, no matter what you have to build, you have to stack these important reps as you build into the playoffs. No matter if you are someone who's playing your first game or what your role is on the team. I mean, this is a team that allowed 341 total return yards tonight. The Blue Bombers, like that to me, I mean, that's not a story that I don't know how much we're going to write about necessarily the special teams, but I mean, that to me is probably the story of the game is that Paul Boudreau's probably having a fit while he's watching this game. So I think I'm kind of sitting here having a fit while I'm watching the game, right? I think that was, and honestly, there was a couple of turning points in this game that when Dru Brown kind of actually started to get it going in the third quarter, he really started to catch fire. That kicking game really killed a lot of momentum that the Bombers had at certain points in the game, which I thought was really crucial. So those are things that need to be cleaned up going into the playoffs. I mean, I can't necessarily remember the last time I saw this bad of from the Bombers performance on the kick coverage, but so I'm not overly worried in that respect, but definitely think that just makes the next game that much more important to kind of build some momentum going into the playoffs.
I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I'm firmly in the school of thought where if you do not need to show your hand, why show your hand? I think Winnipeg is being strategic here in not showing the little nuances to their game, to their offense, to their defense, and it also to their special teams. People think sometimes kick cover is just get in your lane, run downfield, go make a tackle. There is a lot more to it than that. When you're playing at this pro level, when you have somebody like Paul Boudreau Jr., who has been doing it for a long time at a very high level, the Blue Bombers special teams coordinator, his father, Paul Sr., did it for over 20 years in the National Football League as a special teams coordinator, winning Super Bowls, signing contract after contract because of how good he was at the strategy of special teams. I think Winnipeg is smart in not showing all of their cards when they don't need to. I will be concerned when it happens, like, maybe it's too late to be concerned about it, at least for us to talk about it on Bonfire, but when it's the West Final and the other team, whether it's BC or Calgary, starts racking up the yards, or whether it's the Grey Cup and it's Toronto or Montreal or even Hamilton for a third straight time coming out of the East, that's when I'd be concerned. I just don't think it's I just don't think it's a factor in these meaningless games, these garbage time games in the season.
Yeah, and just to jump in, I mean, for me, tonight's game, all that really mattered was how did Dru Brown look? I think basically everything else didn't really mean anything. There's a couple other guys I was looking at. Desmond Lawrence, his first game with the Bombers, Liam Dobson, his first start as well. So there's definitely a couple players that I had a close eye on tonight to see how they were doing in some of their first action as well. But
what did you guys think of Lawrence?
Well, that one play before the second, or at the end of the first half, he got cooked pretty bad on that one. But luckily, VA had a hand in his face and he underthrew that quite a bit, so he kind of he got saved to an extent because he ended up getting PI. But yeah, he made a couple plays. I don't think he was fantastic, but he wasn't a liability either. And I think for a backup defensive back, that's really all you can pretty much ask for. So yeah, I'd give him a passing grade tonight for sure.
I thought he was a bit of a liability in the run game. He looked like he didn't want to make tackles when James Butler was running the football. That's what I saw a little bit, especially in the first half.
That's interesting. I like that assessment. I don't know how much I can comment on that in the run game. His contribution in the run game. I'm struggling to remember that personally, but I would agree. I would side with Taylor in just this, in the sense that I don't think that he was necessarily a liability out there tonight. I thought that he did. I thought he made some nice plays. And I thought I just watching. I'm very much like a technical analyzer when I'm watching these guys. Just watching their technique, seeing how they're maybe whether they're shielding guys to the sideline, pushing guys out of bounds, how they're using their leverage to their advantage and whatnot. And I think that I thought that he did that really well in a lot of cases tonight. Obviously had a couple of moments, but a couple of rough moments. But I thought that overall, again, like Taylor said, I would give him a passing grade. I thought that it was okay. And going back to our original point, Darrin, earlier, just in the sense that these are just meaningful reps for these guys at this point. When you're talking about these, this is the blessing of the position of the Bombers right now. You know, this one game, although it might not seem like anything crazy, those reps for the younger players, the guys who are making some of these crucial starts in their careers, their respective careers, these could pay dividends going into next season, for example, or maybe if there is, knock on wood, there's an injury in the West Final, for example.
I want to get you guys to help me with what Zach Schnitzer and I always do here on Game Day After Dark, and that is hand out our special recognitions tonight. Walby's Warrior, Westwood's Wide to the Right. We will have our Happy Honker Award, courtesy of our legendary broadcasters of years gone by at CJOB, as well as our Bonfire Burning Point, not the TSN Turning Point, the Bonfire Burning Point tonight. And then we'll hand out some game balls as well. Before we do that, I do want to mention the Winnipeg Rifles, Winnipeg Junior Football, play their regular season finale tomorrow, 3 p.m. kickoff, live at IG Field. So head down to the Bombers Stadium to bring the Rifles home in the regular season. They are still top 10 in the nation, despite being third in the powerhouse Prairie Football Conference. They have the league's leading passer, the country's leading passer in Bryson McNeil. Like 5 different receivers this year have had over 150-yard performances. A great defense run by defensive coordinator Justin Kasich. They are a sight to behold. So if you head down to the game tomorrow at 3 at IG Field, tickets are $15, 10 for seniors, and kids under 18 are free. And if you can't make it down, you can catch the game live. I'll have the call with Brady Meeks, their starting running back who broke his hand a couple weeks ago. Might return for the playoffs. We'll see, but he'll be doing the color with me, cjfltv.com. And you can find everything you need on riflesfootball.com. Taylor, we'll start with you. You joined us late, but you're first up here. Your Walby's Warrior tonight, the guy that went to battle and got it done.
I think it's going to go to Rasheed Bailey. I mean,
good pick.
Again, this game didn't really mean anything, but Rasheed, he was into it. He was jawing at some guys, and Josh mentioned it earlier. That catch he made on the sidelines before his touchdown catch was one of the best plays of the game as well. And yeah, I mean, Rasheed had no catches last week, and there's been some times this season where you kind of sleep on him, you kind of forget about him, but then you'll have a game like this where he kind of really reminds you how talented he is. And I think, honestly, he has some of the best hands in the CFL. That doesn't get talked about quite enough. But when you're playing with so many good receivers, Dembski, Schoen, and Ellingson at one point, it's been kind of hard for him to have too many breakout games. But yeah, I think Rasheed, just the intensity that he brought and some of the plays he made and the effort he had, yeah, I think he would be my pick for Walby's Warrior for sure.
Yeah, 14 targets, 11 catches, 121 yards, including a long of 22. And I can't remember the last time Rasheed Bailey had a 2-touchdown game. So a good choice by you, Taylor. Who do you got, Josh?
14 targets for Rasheed. Oh, I know we all been covering that guy wants to get the ball.
Hospital ball, that first pass from Dru Brown. Talk about an easy one to get things going.
Yeah. That was a scary play.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, no, Rasheed, that's a great pick, Taylor. I like that. I actually kind of alluded to it earlier with Michael Couture, but you want to know what? I'm actually gonna go in a different direction here. I just finished crapping on the on the special teams. But I'm going to go to the guy who I actually believe kind of held Winnipeg in this game at certain points, and that's Janarion Grant. I thought this guy, Janarion Grant, FYI, I believe I will go on record saying, because I'm very confident in this, I think he set the Bombers all-time kickoff or return touchdowns marker. So he now is solo. He tied that earlier this year, and I think he's solo in that category, all-time return touchdowns franchise leader. So Janarion Grant, shout out to that guy, man. Was a warrior tonight. Obviously racked up a lot of return yards on his own. And like I said, I thought that he's a warrior just for the simple fact that there were moments in the first half where the offense was maybe sputtering a bit. Defense was kind of sputtering a little bit, but Janarion Grant was able to kind of hold us together, give us a decent field position, keep us in this game, and ended up making it a pretty cool game and entertaining game, all said and done. Just to answer Andrea, kickoff and punt return, I think it's his all-time return touchdown for franchise leader.
Yeah, I used to love Keith Stokes. Loved Keith Stokes.
I was just gonna say that exactly. Yeah, I had a Keith Stokes jersey as a kid, so I got to admit,
nice.
Seeing Keith lose his record hurts a little bit. But
Janarion Keith Stokes might have been a reason why I wore number 3 when I played for the St. James Rods back in the day. Did him no service with my level of play, but Keith Stokes was one of my favorites to watch. So congratulations to Janarion Grant for hitting that mark with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 6 touchdowns in his career returning. I'm going to give my Walby Warrior to an individual Chris himself would be proud of, and that is Liam Dobson on the missed field goal, the tackle that he made, chugging along with that big body to make the tackle, toe tip trip, in the words of our press box announcer, Tom Halleck. Good on Liam Dobson for that play. I think you guys had great picks, so I'll give one to Liam Dobson for that. Do we have a Westwood wide to the right? You guys got a moment or an instance in this game or something that happened that just rubbed you the wrong way that you did not like?
I'll start first. And again, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but this was, I thought that when Dru Brown when he had that first touchdown drive in the third, it was the second drive of the third quarter where he made the nice pass to Rasheed Bailey on the sideline, and then they ended up going, I think it was like a 7-play, 64-yard drive in the third quarter, okay, which got them on the board here and really got the offense rolling. Best offensive series of the game to that point. The special teams gave up that 37-yard return, and I think BC, if I'm not mistaken, came back and answered with that. I thought that was kind of the moment where you just kind of shake your head at, because the offense is starting to roll. Hopefully you're helping your defense out by keeping them on the sidelines fresh, and then the special teams goes and gives up a big time return, and then they go down and they put points up on the board. So I thought that was kind of my shake my head moment in this game. Going back to crapping on the special teams, that's my low hanging fruit for tonight.
Yeah, I think for me, it's got to be, it probably wouldn't have made any difference anyways, but the very end of the game, the Bombers get that last touchdown, then the 2-point convert, so they have a chance to do an onside kick, and you never know, crazier things have happened in the CFL. Could have maybe got themselves the ball and, a chance to tie the game, but then they didn't do an onside kick. They kicked it kind of downfield, and I don't know if just missed it or that was just the call or what, but that was a real head scratcher, and that's what they were talking about on the broadcast as well. So again, onside kicks work basically 1 out of a billion times, but they're always kind of fun to watch. So that was kind of just a lame note to end the game on, just kind of a confusing one as well. So I think that would be my Westwood wide to the right.
I think Darrin, did you see that comment that just came up with the penalty there? I think that's an important one to know, just with when you're stepping out of bounds, that's kind of like the rule. If your returner steps out of bounds and then touches the ball, that's just considered he now is a part of the out of bounds, and that becomes an illegal kick out of bounds. I think that's important. That's a heads up. That's like one of the top IQ plays. I think I saw that years ago with I'm a Packers fan. Just let's put that out there for everybody. I'm a Packers fan. Taylor doesn't love that, but Randall Cobb. I think it was Randall Cobb, and there was actually another player that did that. I can't even remember who. He did that years ago in the NFL, and he stepped out of bounds. And that was one of the first times that we had seen that in a long, long time. And then I swear it's happened like a dozen times since that I've seen that in the NFL and the CFL. And so it's just kind of this one rule where step out of bounds and then you touch the ball. It's this very high IQ play that gives you very good field position.
Yeah, I'll give my Westwood wide to the right tonight to a couple of the calls, maybe just the officiating overall in the game. I normally do not crap on the officials in a game. I just thought maybe they weren't as sharp as an entire crew, and they could have been tonight. Rick Campbell, great coach. I've got huge respect for him in this league. His father, Hugh, obviously as well. Rick is a fantastic game manager and a great head coach, but his decision to challenge early in the game proved costly. Not only did he lose it, but he needed it, I think, like a series or two later, and didn't have it anymore. So that'll be my Westwood wide to the right. We're going to give away our game balls in a second. I would love everybody in the live chat to give us who maybe your 1, 2, or 3 players of the game were tonight. They can be from the Lions too. Feel free there. But if you got best Bombers performances tonight, hit up the live chat or text the hotline at 816-8477. Okay, we have our Happy Honker Award. We give this out every week here on Game Day After Dark to the lighthearted moment, the thing that made you smile, the great feel good thing that happened in the game. I will start this off, and I'll give it to Janarian Grant for nodding to his teammates on the sideline as he took that first return to the house. And there was Willie Jefferson meeting him in the end zone. He was on the sidelines holding his helmet, and there he was, first guy to celebrate with Janarian Grant in the end zone. That was a fun moment for me. I smiled a little bit with that one.
Yeah, that was a good one, and kind of similar to that, but on a negative play or 2 negative plays. I think it was after both of Dru Brown's pick sixes. He stood on the sidelines. I think Josh mentioned this earlier before, how well he kind of carried himself after those picks. But anyways, he's on the sidelines, and there's a lineup of guys who going up to him, just patting him on the back, patting him on the helmet, basically saying like, "Hey man, it's all good, it's all good, it's all good." And I think that kind of paints the picture of what this Bombers team is, what this Bombers team locker room is like, and stuff like that. So there's no worse feeling than throwing a pick six, I'd imagine. So having so many guys come up to you and immediately say, "Hey man, don't worry about it," I'm sure that helps them quite a bit. So I think that gets it for me.
I'm gonna go to Rasheed Bailey, and this is just kind of a moment that just made me smile, and it's Rasheed Bailey because I just love I'm never it never gets old how much Rasheed Bailey, he just wears his heart on his sleeves, man, and his emotions, and it's just all comes out, and he is, for me, is just he can just be that emotional leader at so many points, and you see it from Nick Dembski as well, where it's just they make a big catch to start the game and they get the crowd fired up, and it was almost like what Andrew Harris did, right? And it's just he would go and he would they would make a big catch and they would go run up like another 10-15 yards and they would start talking, they would start jawing. But Rasheed Bailey and him jawing to the with the defensive back, I can't even remember who it was that was covering him on the play at the time, but him jawing to him and then getting fired up as well after a big time catch, and just wearing his, again, just doing what Rasheed does, right? Rasheed was feeling himself tonight with the 14 targets, 11 grabs, a couple tugs. I thought Rasheed, those are just the moments that kind of just make me smile, because I just love covering that guy, man, and just love watching him on TV as well.
I think that was Tyneil Cooper, the BC Lions field side corner, former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, Tyneil Fly Cooper, smaller guy, very fast, and he's really upped his game playing with the BC Lions this year. But I think it was him and Rasheed playing quite against each other quite a bit. But yeah, I think that's a good happy honker. And thanks to David Rollins, who's watching live from Mexico tonight. The happy honker reminding us from Cactus Jack Wells on 680 CJOB was for the player who does a little extra special thing but does not really get recognized. That's what old Jake said. Well put. We kind of do it in his honor of the award, and just the thing that made us smile and made us a happy honker tonight. Yeah. Okay. That's all three of us. I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
We got a bonfire burning point. Now, normally these games mean something. So it's like the moment in the game that turned the tides in favor of the winning team, or, that critical moment that changed the game. This game obviously didn't have the same oomph to it, if you will. I don't even know, Maybe that's the way to put it. But with so many of the veterans resting, future 2022 CFL MOP Zach Collaros not dressing for this game. Do we have a moment, a bonfire burning point that things maybe swung a little bit? Anything stand out to you guys?
Does it have to be? Go ahead, Ted. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Does it have to be for the winning team here, Darrin, or can it just be in total? Because I mentioned it already a couple times. It has to me. It has to be the throw to Rasheed Bailey. It has to be the throw to Rasheed Bailey on the sideline. Like, that was just the throw to me with Dru Brown. He felt the pressure. He escaped. He rolled right, and he threw this absolute dart on the sideline. It was a great catch by Rasheed. That was the one that, like, the offense was kind of sputtering to that point. There was a pick six, right? There was I think the BC Lions defense had more points than the Bombers offense to that point in the game. And then Dru Brown made that throw to Rasheed Bailey. And then we ended up with this, 70 plus point bout. It just, to me, that was without a doubt, if that play doesn't happen, if Dru Brown doesn't get in a rhythm with that throw, I don't know if we might be talking about a BC Lions rout, not this 8-point contest.
Yeah, for me, I think it's probably, I mean, you could say, like Granny Bomber fan said, you could choose Legio's missed kicks. But for me, I think kind of maybe the bonfire turning point or whatever was that second pick six by Dru Brown. The first one, you can eat that. You could take that on the chin and whatever, that was early. But that second one, the Bombers were really kind of fighting back. They were showing some life, and it looked like this was going to kind of go down to the wire kind of thing. And then that one, that was just kind of too much to overcome. So you can't miss 3 kicks and throw 2 pick sixes on the road and win a game. And the fact that they came close with a bunch of backups, that's pretty impressive, actually, when you think about it. But
big time.
But yeah, just too many mistakes, just shooting themselves on the foot too many times. But I will say, I know you guys spend a lot of time talking about Dru Brown off the hop, but both those pick sixes he did throw, though, like he made the right read on both those throws. Just the first one, he dropped the snap and he held on to the ball 2 seconds too long, which is, basically a lifetime in football, but still made the right read. And then the one to Dembski, I believe it was the second one. He was open as well. He just threw it behind him. He just misfired. So I think those are things he can easily clean up and get better from tonight. But yeah, the second one, though, that would be my bonfire burning point.
Before I give you my bonfire burning point, I want to ask you guys, did you notice Dru Brown's touchdown to Rasheed Bailey was almost like a no look? They were working that out route to Nick Dembski over and over and over again. And that was the one that TJ Lee picked off for his pick six. But all game long, they're working that 5-7 yard kind of curling, unsharp out for Nick Dembski. And on the Rasheed Bailey touchdown, where I can't remember if it was first or second, forgive me, but grabbed it low and then, reached it across the line. That was like a no-look pass. It was very kind of Patrick Mahomes, subtle to notice, but he is looking at Dembski and throws it, maybe 8 or 10 yards to left of where he's looking to find Rasheed Bailey for the touchdown. And you could see, Ragamba and TJ Lee and I think it was Lucius Purifoy. They're all kind of like, what are you doing? You missed the guy. Like, it's almost like they gave up on Rasheed, and that's why he was able to kind of catch it low and reach it over the goal line, because the defender gave up on him. They thought Dru Brown was throwing it to Nick Dembski on the quick out. I thought that was masterful.
That goes to the whole point of this, the confidence. I mean, that's what you can't. I don't know. You can't really teach that. that's just something that you either got it or you don't. That's the poise. That's the confidence from Dru Brown. So kudos to him. But I actually didn't notice that, Darrin. So very good point to bring that up.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say Dru Brown is going to one day lead the Bombers or any team to a Grey Cup, but if you look back just at Bombers history, just these past 20 years at least, other than Chris Streveler, and even him is kind of an iffy example. Like, when's the last time the Bombers have had an in-house young quarterback with promise that has actually panned out? You can rattle off 10 names of guys who, for a second, people thought might have been something. But Dru Brown, to me, I think he's probably the most promising quarterback prospect this team has had in a very, very, very long time. And that's a very low bar. Like, that's really
good Blue Bombers, number 2s and number 3s, like going back, like you're talking like Danny McManus, who never got a fair shake here in Winnipeg. John Huffnagel never got an opportunity to show what he was capable of. Like you got to go back that far. But I'm with you. You can just go back to our Bonfire shows from earlier this season. And I know you guys are tired of hearing me say it during practice at IG Field, but Dru Brown will be a starting quarterback in this league. I've been saying it for months, and I'm sticking with it. One question we got here that I definitely want to get into, guys, before we hand out our game balls. T. Conapoli, yeah, DB, what about Nathan Rourke? Is getting closer to playing? Do you guys expect Nathan Rourke to play October 28th in Winnipeg for the regular season finale, following Farhan Lalji's report from the sidelines saying he talked to Rourke, he talked to head coach Rick Campbell. They are optimistic and expect him to return to practice within about a week and be ready to start on October 28th.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a doctor, believe it or not, but for me, with his injury, if there's any risk of him playing and it making it worse or any long-term effects, it is not worth it. I know how talented he is. I know with him, BC actually has a shot at the Grey Cup, or at least a much stronger shot at a Grey Cup. But for me, he's so young. He has such a long career ahead of him, so much promise. And he's going to have some interest from the NFL for sure. Maybe as early as next year, despite missing half of the season, which is crazy to think about. So for me, if there's any chance of that getting messed up from him playing too soon or whatever, I don't want to see it. I think he should just sit out the year, and as that would suck, as you know, if you're a Lions fan or just on the Lions. But I think that's
there'll be Lions fans cursing your name hearing you say that.
Probably.
Well, they've been cursing me this week, so I get it.
Oh, there you go. I'll join the club. But yeah, for the long-term impact of his career, I think he shouldn't play. But again, unless the doctors say, you know what, with this injury, even if you do get hit funny or whatever, it's not going to, make it any worse kind of thing, then sure, throw him out there. But yeah, that's the biggest storyline in the league right now. Like, is he or is he not going to play? So we'll see for sure. Because with him, they're a totally different team.
Oh, no question.
Yeah, I don't know what about too much about. I've never had this Lynn's frac, whatever, however you pronounce it. So fortunately, I can't imagine it's very pleasant. But like my point being there is that kind of what Taylor was saying is just like I have no idea what the risks are of playing versus not playing, regardless. Like if you're at 99% healed, if you have to be a full 100% healed in order to play, but. I think Taylor hit the nail on the head there, just in the sense that if there is any risk whatsoever to any sort of long-term damage or anything like that might put anything beyond this season in doubt, I think that you have to sit him. And especially with the nature also, I mean, I don't know about the whole NFL thing that Taylor was talking about, but with even just if he were to be in the CFL, I mean, the nature of this league with the 1-year contracts and whatnot, I mean, who's to say? I mean, you bring. I mean, Nathan's coming back, right? And you load up around him again. I mean, it's who's to say that BC can't be in the same spot again next year? Is what I'm trying to get at. So why put any risk right now in order to what you think might be something? Especially you got that absolute powerhouse in Winnipeg that is still looks like they're going to keep rolling along here. Why I personally say. Wait a year. I would be surprised to see him play. I'll say that. But if he does, I mean, obviously, very good for the league.
Look, if it does no damage to his short-term or long-term health, and he can come back and play, all the power to him and the BC Lions. He, without a question, is the most exciting player this league has seen in a long, long time. He's threatening Matt Dunnigan's single-game passing records. He's threatening decades-old touchdown in a game records. It is uncanny and truly the definition of the word phenom in watching Nathan Rourke play this year. Rourke, his family, his agent, and the BC Lions themselves, they will all weigh the options, not just what will happen over the next couple of weeks here, but also what will happen this coming off season. The NFL window for players, whether they're under contract or not, or I should say, if they are under contract in the CFL, it opens for 30 days in between December and January where they can essentially put their CFL contract on pause and sign an NFL futures contract with the team for the following season. They can't like sign and then join for the playoffs or that sort of thing. Not that that would happen in Nathan Rourke's case, but I think it's going to be important that it's the right opportunity in the NFL. I don't think he wants to be buried on a team where he'll never get a chance to show what he has. You only get, I won't say you only get one shot, but that first impression to the NFL is going to be very important for Nathan Rourke. So if he can show either this season or next season what he's capable of doing over a consistent period of time, and even that 8-9 games he played this year, I think it's enough of a picture for an NFL GM to give him an attractive offer with some guaranteed money up front. But that first impression, I think, is very important because he could end up just kind of becoming a forgotten commodity in the NFL if he isn't, valued for the greatest amount, right? So if that opportunity comes this winter, sign the deal, go to the NFL, go show them what you can do. But if that right opportunity, if it's just kind of a, here's 10 grand and come to training camp and we'll see if you make the team. I don't know if Nathan Rourke is going to take half a CFL season off the beginning of next year, waiting for an opportunity in the NFL that might not even pan out. So, the value of Nathan Rourke, I think, is apparent because a guy can throw for 500 yards in a bowl game in the NCAA, and a guy can throw for 500 yards in pro football that I think garners more respect today than it ever has amongst NFL player personnel people. I think Nathan Rourke's value is real, and watching his brother do it too. I think there's some bloodline connection there that kind of piques the interest of a lot of scouts and GMs. So I hope the best for Nathan Rourke. I hope he's able to play again this year. He is great for everything and everybody, and the Bombers want to play against the best. You're never going to hear them say, "I hope he doesn't play." You might hear them say that, but they won't say that publicly. For Nathan Rourke, wishing him the best. If he can play October 28th and get that kind of rust shake-off game in the regular season out of his system, I'd be dangerous. I'd be worried about the BC Lions, even if they had to travel to McMahon for the semifinal.
Yeah, and just on the Rourke to NFL talk for a second, I think he has the potential to definitely make it, but again, we have seen over the past 10 15 years how hard it is for CFL quarterbacks to make it down there. I mean, look at Ricky Ray. He spent a year with the Jets as their third or fourth string quarterback. You look at Casey Printers, he had a cup of coffee with the Chiefs.
Henry Burris with the Bears.
Bo Levi Mitchell in his prime, he tried for the Vikings, didn't make the Vikings. So there's been so many guys who've put up huge numbers, been super successful, have even won Grey Cups and stuff, and they haven't been able to crack the NFL. I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to. Sometimes as a CFL player, you go down there and that you just have this stigma attached to you that, oh, you play in the CFL, you can't hang with us kind of thing, which is a load of what. But it's just been so hard for a quarterback here, other than Chris Streveler. And again, he's kind of a weird example because he's down there not because of his arm. He's down there because he's a Taysom Hill type of a talent. Right. So yeah, we'll see with Nathan Rourke. We're due for someone to make it down there. But you're right, Darren. I mean, for him, it's got to be a right situation. But missing half of the season, I still think he's gonna get a lot of interest because he was that damn good in the 9 games that he did play.
That's interesting. You guys are very high on Nathan, like getting the look. I'm not sure I'm ready to like say at this point in time in his career that he's ready for the NFL. Like I would personally like to see him for another season, healthy, see what he can do. Obviously, he came out guns a-blazing, but there's people that get hot all the time. I mean, there's you get hot, you start feeling yourself. You go on a nice run. I'm not trying to discredit anything that Nathan Rourke did. I'm just saying that I would like to see him come back from injury and play a full season here, and then we can talk about whether or not he goes to the highest level. Because, like Taylor just alluded to, it is such a different game. The 11 players, the tighter field, just the whole strategic aspect of the game is completely different. I'm not quite ready to sit here and just say, yeah, Nathan Rourke he'll get a look at the NFL next year. But I mean, shoot, I'd love to see him prove me wrong. That'd be terrific to see the Canadian boy down there and making some noise.
I'm with Lynn Reimer. Don't forget to hit the like button. Taylor Allen and Josh Frey-Sam, they're going to be looking at the likes in this video tomorrow morning when they wake up before they head to IG Field for the Rifles game. So hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet. We appreciate that a lot. I think it's because Nathan Rourke is 24 years old. NFL scouts and personnel people are like, let's look at him now. You could bring in Zach Collaros. Well, he's 30 something. You could bring in, Bo Levi when he was getting his NFL look, he was 29 years old. Adam Bighill aged out of his NFL opportunity and signed with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for the first time because he was 29 and they didn't want to give him any sort of guaranteed money for that offseason going into training camp. So you got to remember, if you sign a futures contract in the NFL, you're not playing in the CFL in June, July, and August. You're waiting for training camp to start in the NFL and then beginning in September. So if it doesn't work out and you are one of those training camp cuts or early season cuts, or, they need to find room on their practice roster because of injuries to a certain position or whatever, if you have zero reassurance, the apprehensiveness is real to sign that deal. If you know you can come to Canada, like Adam Bighill, sign for 6 figures plus. Nathan Rourke, man, that guy's going to get paid if he's able to play the way he has shown. I don't think it was an anomaly. I don't think it was a flash in the pan. I think learning under Michael Riley and then coming in the way he did in front of an offensive line people weren't sure about. Yes, lots of weapons around him. But good on him. Good on Jordan Matsimick, their offensive coordinator in BC. They had lightning in a bottle with Nathan Rourke earlier this season. We'll see how these next several months shake out. Guys, just kind of as we've just eclipsed the 1 hour mark here. It is 1 a.m. Central Time here in Winnipeg, so don't want to keep people up too late, even though our viewership numbers are highest they've been since we started the show. I guess that's you, Taylor. Thanks for joining.
It's the Winnipeg Free Press. When you got not one but two writers, right. Winnipeg Free Press. I mean, come on.
Well, your words are being printed. Well, no, they're not. I guess it's Saturday. You don't have a paper on Sunday, right? You got a paper on Monday.
On Monday, I will have some words.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And Josh, you'll have some words about the Winnipeg Rifles. I know that.
I will have some words about the Winnipeg Rifles.
Yeah, and I have a feeling they're going to be good words because they're playing the Edmonton Wildcats and expecting them to come down with a win at IG Field. Let's give out our game balls as we wrap things up here on Game Day After Dark. If you want to give out 1 or 2 or 3 or a whole bunch, that's up to you. I think I've got a choice or 2 that might surprise some people tonight, so I'll let you guys go first. Anybody jump out to you that you want to give a game ball to?
Josh, you go.
Can I take the quarterback? I mean, let me. I praised Dru Brown a lot, man. I gave him a B+ on the day. I thought that he was terrific tonight. I thought that he showed a lot of good things. I'm not even the 2 pick sixes. They don't bother me. Those can be cleaned up. Those are decisions that, yeah, don't love to see them, but he'll learn from those. I'm confident in that, and he's got a lot of room to grow. He's got a great tutor in front of him, great mentor, in front of him. No worries here. I thought Dru Brown played admirably tonight, and I'm really excited to see what his future is in this league and going forward in his career.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, it feels silly to be praising a guy again who threw 2 pick sixes, but again, I think there was more good than bad to his game tonight. So absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on there. For me, we've mentioned Rasheed Bailey quite a bit tonight, so I'll move on from him.
Jamal, give him one. I'll give him one. I'll give one to Rasheed.
Okay,
great game.
Okay, well, okay, there we go. Rasheed gets one. How about Jamal Parker? I mean, this Bomber secondary so banged up. Nick Taylor, Demario Houston, you lose both of those guys. Brandon Alexander just coming back from injury and stuff as well. They really need Jamal Parker and Evan Holm as well to kick it up a notch and be hits. And I think those guys have had some growing pains for sure. But Jamal Parker, I think this might have been one of his best games. So that's a big encouraging sign for the Bombers, because if those 2 guys are are not the answer. They don't have many options after them. And if you go into the playoffs, and Nathan Rourke, we talk about him a lot. If he is back playing and stuff, he'll pick on your weaknesses for sure. So I think Jamal Parker having a decent game is a good sign for the Bombers.
Yeah, people in the live chat love Jamal Parker as a pick tonight. I know I gave one to Rashid. You guys got another? I got a couple. So anybody stand out to you? You guys want to give a game ball to?
Not a game ball per se. I'm going to kind of overtake the segment and change it to something that I wanted to mention.
All right, fine. Go ahead.
But more of like a season game ball to this guy, because I feel like he hasn't gotten enough love, and he got hurt tonight. Chris Kolinkowski. He got rolled up line and taken out of the game, and this is more so a season game ball because I think he has been probably honestly one of the best stories of this entire team this season. Filling in for Michael Couture, broke his arm in week 2. That could have been a big problem for the Bombers. But Chris Kolinkowski, a guy that was out of the league a couple of years ago, he lives in Ontario. He drove down to Cincinnati to go to a free agent camp just to get a look. And the Bombers sign him, and last year he doesn't play a snap, and this year Couture gets hurt, and this guy's been, I think it's his 4th CFL season, and this was his first time actually getting to play. And that's kind of like a big question mark how he's going to do, but he's been rock solid. So, and hasn't given Couture his job back either. So that just shows how well he's played. So him getting hurt tonight, you hate to see that. So I'm going to give him a season long a game ball though, because I feel like Kolinkowski deserves some more love.
Yeah, I love that.
Well put. I'm going to give a game ball to BC Lions. Forgive me. James Butler was awesome tonight. Am I concerned about the Bombers' run defense? Well, tonight I was. Moving forward, maybe a little bit less so. But 14 carries for 104 yards, averaging 7.4 yards per carry. Pretty dang good. Terry Williams gets a game ball. He was awesome in the return game tonight. So too was Janarian Grant. My surprise game ball goes to Jeff Gray, who did not look out of place at all, playing pretty much the entire game, unless I missed something, at left tackle. I think he definitely deserves a game ball, a maligned player at times in the opinion of many people, including myself. I've been a critic of his, but if the Winnipeg native and University of Manitoba Bison's product has shown to get better all the time, we know he is smart and strong and talented, and now he's putting it all together, playing a very, very tough position, the toughest position on the offensive line, protecting a young quarterback in Dru Brown's blind side. So maybe my number one game ball goes to Jeff Gray tonight. Great job.
And most important of all, though, Jeff Gray is a really good cook. So if you ever need cooking advice, or even just talk to the other offensive linemen on the team, they rave about him cooking. I think they go to his place like once a week or something, and he cooks them dinner. He's a man with many talents. So football most important of all, but Jeff Gray, he's a hell of a cook too, apparently.
Good for him. That's how you make friends on a football team,
especially on the O-line. Oh, you'll be the most popular guy.
That old cliche. Eh? Oh yeah, the feed the O-line guys, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Even those 140-pound guys are hungry because they're burning calories like crazy too. So I'm sure Jeff Gray making a lot of friends. You guys got any final thoughts as we wrap things up here? It's been great having you two on. Love the youth, love the enthusiasm, love the insight and the sharp football minds that you guys are. This was fun.
I think we got it. I think maybe not tonight as we've eclipsed the 1 hour mark, but I think definitely it'll have to be talked about. Just once again the Zach Collaros sitting versus playing. I'm sure will be an ongoing storyline. Yeah. And then also I think one thing that needs to be known, we talked about the offensive line a lot tonight, but just what is the offensive line going to look like going into the playoffs? What is that that starting 5 going to look like? And then also how well when it does include Michael Couture in some way, shape, or form, how well is that unit going to just continue to get back to what they were doing? Because this is a cohesive 5-man unit. It is not just one player coming back. It is one person being added to the entire unit. And And I think that is really important to note. So regardless of how good Michael Couture is and how much he's played in the past, him being added to this starting five, this top five, is going to be is crucial. So I think that's something that we got to keep an eye on going forward, and it'll be really interesting storyline going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think I'll take my my final thought and use it on. It blows my mind that there are still some people out there. I know I just spent 10 minutes praising him earlier, but there are people out there who think that Nathan Rourke should win the most outstanding player award. For me, it's not
Go
even
off, Taylor.
it's not even a conversation that it's Zach Collaros. And I don't care who wins. I got no stake in it. But a guy, Nathan Rourke, as great as he was, he played 9 games. He's missed half of the season. I kind of envision any other professional sports league giving their MVP, most outstanding player, whatever you want to call it, to an individual who had missed half of the season. And I know the CFL is only 9 teams, so it kind of skews it a little bit and whatever. But Zach Collaros, you look at his numbers, first in the league, second in the league, and basically every single important stat, most important of all, wins. And he's played every single game. And you look at the CFL these past couple of years, how many quarterbacks have been getting hurt? It's been nonstop. But Zach, knock on wood, Bomber fans, he's stayed healthy. And the best trait about a quarterback is availability. And he has knocked that out of the park. So for me, I'm still hearing whispers of people that want to vote for Nathan Rourke and stuff like that, and I just think that's ridiculous. I think that would be the most Bush League thing ever if he did win the award. So yeah, I'll just use my final thought on that rant. So
I concur.
It's 1:14 in the morning in Winnipeg, so I'll say this: would it be as Bush League as somebody who tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs winning MOP?
Just thought I think both of those are absolutely ridiculous. Could you imagine if LeBron James tested positive for a PED and then he still won the MVP award? Like, that would never happen in a million years. Or NFL with Patrick Mahomes or whatever, any example you want, that would never happen in any other league. So
it would look bad on everybody.
Oh, it'd make it look like this is a Mickey Mouse league. Like, absolutely not. That would have been a terrible look. So for those who had votes and did not vote for that individual that year, yeah, you 1000% made the right call. And I know lots of people here didn't like it and stuff, but if you take off your blue and gold, glasses and look at the big picture, that was 1000% the right call. He did not deserve to win that award.
So it'll be interesting to see how Zach Collaros and the rest of the Blue Bombers handle this bye week, handle their final bye, if you will, that playoff bye, and then how much these guys will play. And will Mike O'Shea employ a similar strategy to what he did in Vancouver tonight? Your final score: Lions 40, Bombers 32, and Winnipeg still lots to be gained outside of the standings right now to ensure that they are where they need to be going into the postseason in that West Final on November 13th. Final word to Andre, who's watching on YouTube. Great guests for the show, DB. Thank you very much. I will take all the credit for these two young men and how awesome you guys were tonight. I say that in jest, of course. Great having you on. Loved everything. Plug yourselves right now. I want Twitter handles and where they can find your work.
Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, so at Taylor Allen 31 for me. And I will be writing, I don't know how I'm going to think of 5 things from this game, but I'm going to be writing 5 takeaways from this game. It'll be in our paper on Monday and, of course, online as well. So if you have an idea for a takeaway, actually, please follow me, send me a DM, help me out here. But no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so that's where you can find me.
You can get the 5 things and just watch the show back tomorrow morning, and you'll get your 5 takes. Boom, your story's written for you right then and there.
I'll word for word what you guys said.
There you go. Yeah, my only plug here is at JFREYSAM at Frey-Sam on Twitter. New to the business, we are working our way up slowly but surely. But big sports guy, so if you enjoy sports, for sure, give me a follow, and happy to talk sports anytime. But Darrin, thanks. Really appreciate you having me on here. Love the show. Love everything that you're doing.
You guys were quicker than my typing fingers, so I will put your YouTube handles in the video description below. So for those who are watching live now, check that out in just a couple minutes. We'll get the podcast up as well. And for everybody out there, be sure to like, give us a subscribe, comment if you're watching this on the replay, or even if you're catching this on your favorite podcast app. Head over to youtube.com/bonfire sports and comment there and give us a thumbs up. Appreciate that a lot as well. We've got some Jets hockey coming here to the channel very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. Josh, Taylor, thank you so much, you guys. This was a lot of fun. We'll try to get you on again very soon. Grey Cup week is approaching steadily, and I have a feeling we might be talking about a certain football team that week. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, even though this is way past my bedtime, this was a lot of fun. Appreciate you having me on, and yeah, I'm gonna go brush my teeth now and go to bed. Yeah, thanks, boys. This was fun.
Don't forget.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, guys. Have a great one.
You too.